I'm Donna Bush with your CIG-TV News Brief, weather forecast, and community headlines. Hundreds and hundreds of students from both public and private schools across the Cayman Islands are performing in the annual National Children's Festival of the Arts this month. On Monday, performers, teachers, family, and friends attended the vocals category at the Red Bay Holiness Church. While students are judged by a panel of experts as they compete for gold, silver, or bronze awards, on Tuesday, students who excel in the art of playing instruments will perform for their school. Well, speaking of arts, thousands of residents and visitors are gearing up to attend the annual Cayfest put on by the National Cultural Foundation. Artisans, actors, fashion designers, singers, dancers, musical groups, and storytellers, just to name a few, will take to the stage during the much-anticipated event. Cayfest is Cayman's finest showcase of talent with an emphasis on local arts and culture and an eclectic mix of all types of arts. Celebrations will kick off this Wednesday with the second annual National Arts and Cultural Awards, where some of the most talented on the island will be recognized in various award categories, which are the Gold, Silver, and Bronze Heritage Cross, the Gold, Silver, and Bronze Stars for Creativity, the Chairman's Award, and the Outstanding Volunteer Award. Now, CNCF Artistic Director Mr. Henry Mutu explained the history of Cayfest at a recent press conference.
This is the 28th annual Cayfest. When Cayfest first started, it was an approach was made to the Cultural Foundation. At the time, Mr. Dave Martins was the chairman, and Mr. McKeever Bush, I believe, was Minister of Culture at the time. And he asked Mr. Martins if the foundation would consider doing a National Arts Festival. And so out of that idea, we put together a proposal for an arts festival. The original proposal, of course, was a little bit more complex than this. It involved a schedule that was heavily leaning towards training, towards working in the districts, so that when we put a festival on, that festival would be informed by a deeper understanding of our heritage and of course the changes that have occurred, as we notice now, quite glaringly in how culture changes. But that wasn't to be, of course, because the funding for something like that would have been a lot, and also it would have necessitated changing how we educate our youth with specific regard to culture and heritage, which meant that we would have had culture and education working so closely in tandem, so that what is being taught in the schools is filtered into the districts with the youth, and then with the foundation and other organizations, whether it is the museum, the National Gallery, the National Trust, National Archive, going into the schools. Then there would be a unified approach, so that whenever Cayfest comes, rather than us having to go search and pick people out and say, would you like to do this, and thing, we would have had a groundswell of culture. But like I said, that's not to be. And what we did is we've made the very best of what we could do, given all of the dynamics that operates within culture and the arts.
Well, this National Arts and Culture Awards event will be followed by the signature Red Sky at Night Arts Festival, which happens Saturday the 29th from 4 p.m. to midnight, and it all ends with Dress for Culture Day on Friday the 13th of March, which is timed to coincide with the week of Commonwealth Day. Finally, hundreds of people attended the recent Coconut Festival held at Pedro St. James. The 5th annual CocoFest event celebrates the ingenuity of local cottage industry businesses while raising funds for a dual purpose: to assist in the preservation of the Great House and to give back to a local charity. Well, this year's charity is Meals on Wheels, and the organization's manager was recently presented with a check from the proceeds raised from each paid admission, drink sales, raffle tickets, sales, as well as additional donations. Now, main sponsor Fidelity Bank supported the cultural event for the second year in a row, citing their commitment to the wider community. Tourism Attraction Board staff thank all contributors to another successful CocoFest event. Now for a check on other community stories making Radio Cayman headlines this Monday. Students of the Cayman Arts Festival after-school program are gearing up to host Music for Children. CAF Executive Director Marius Gaynor says the event, scheduled to take place on the morning of February the 18th, is part of the 16th annual Cayman Arts Festival, which brings together a list of international and local musical talent to entertain local audiences. It all happens from 10 a.m. or 10:30 a.m. That's on Tuesday at the Georgetown Public Library. Admission there is free. And of course, for more on this story and others making Radio Cayman headlines, you can go online to radiocayman.gov.ky. Well, for the Sister Islands rock iguana, survival requires a bit of luck. But between feral cats and speeding cars, this once dominant lizard species is struggling to reach adulthood. In the first species survey since 2015, researchers with the Department of Environment made a concerning discovery recently about the native iguana population in Little Cayman and Cayman Brac. Here's a Compass feature story.
So Cyclura is the genus name for the West Indian rock iguanas, and they are in fact the most endangered group of lizards in the entire world. So we have a great responsibility looking after our iguanas, and most people will probably think about the rock iguanas as the blue iguana, right? So most people are familiar with the blue iguana we have here in Grand Cayman. But the blue iguana has a sister, and it lives on the Sister Islands, Little Cayman and Cayman Brac, and it's called, in fact, the Sister Island rock iguana. Yeah, so the rock iguanas used to be the dominant large land animal on all of the West Indies. Of course, that's no longer the case. So right now the iguanas live where there's still space for them, but historically they used to live across the islands. They used to use the forest for food, they used to use the coastal areas for nesting, so they used to be all over the place. Now in Little Cayman in particular, we find the iguanas in the xerophytic shrubland, so with the karst and the rock holes, and then coming of course to the coast to breed during breeding season. So they didn't used to have a lot of predators, only when they were small. So they would outgrow the snakes and they would outgrow the birds eventually. So the problem that we're facing on the Sister Islands in particular is that the population is being hit on two levels, two critical levels. The babies are being eaten a lot by cats, feral cats, and the adults are being run over by speeding motorists. And of course, both issues can really dramatically put a dent in the population. We may not see it for the next couple of years, but suddenly if there's no recruitment, these are long-lived animals, the populations can just really decline dramatically. Right, so the surveys are extremely important to get sort of a snapshot in time of what the populations are doing. Are they increasing? Are they declining? And if they are declining, why is that? And how can we help, not have these amazing animals go extinct on our watch, as it were? So in November, the team and I went over to Little Cayman to continue our surveying. We haven't done it since 2015. There's been a lot going on. So we're just really excited to get the results back. Although we fear that the population has declined, it's good to know by how much and why that is. Okay, so our preliminary survey results show that we don't have a lot of animals that are less than, say, 3 or 4 years old. That's a real problem because that means the babies don't ever live to be reproductively mature. And so therefore we're putting the population through an artificial bottleneck, as it were. We're putting constraints on the amount of animals that are represented in the future, and for a small island population, that's really critical.
And of course, you can find other Cayman Compass feature stories on caymancompass.com. Turning now to the forecast from the Cayman Islands National Weather Service, moderate northeasterly winds and seas will continue across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours as a high pressure system lingers over the central Atlantic Ocean. Radar images show isolated showers in and around the Cayman area that is moving west. Meantime, the high temperature reached 86 degrees today with a low of 76. We can expect partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers. The winds are from the northeast at 10 to 15 knots, 5 to 10 knots tonight. Sea conditions will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Remember, you can go online to weather.gov.ky for the very latest forecast. You can also download their app, CINWS. And that ends today's news brief here on CIG Television. If you happen to have missed it, you can go to the Cayman Islands Government Facebook page or the CIG Television YouTube channel. I'm Donna Bush, wishing you a safe and wonderful night.